Welcome to another edition of BCHL Central on VBN Sports. I'm your host, Jacob Esterbrewer. On this week's show, big changes for the Victoria Grizzlies, a scheduling change in Prince George, and I'll chat with the voice of the Penticton V's, Fraser Rogers. The Victoria Grizzlies announced a new ownership group this week. The group, consisting of Pete Zaberski, who will take over as the Grizzlies' Director of Operations, John Wilson, Kirby Yeats, Riza Benab, and Don Robinson, then announced that head coach and general manager Bill Bestwick had been relieved of his duties with the club. Bestwick, who was in the final year of a 2-year contract, had a record of 52, 21, 3, and 12 behind the Grizzlies bench. During his first season with the club, the Grizzlies finished second overall and first in the Island Division. At the time of his firing, the Grizzlies had the third best record in the BCHL. Bestwick is one of just 3 coaches to have coached 1,000 games and earned 500 victories in the BCHL. Craig Didman, an assistant under Bestwick, has taken over the head coaching duties. The Prince George Spruce Kings were scheduled to play home games versus the Chilliwack Chiefs on December 14th and 15th, but due to a labor dispute between the city and its employees, it was announced that the games would have to be postponed. It was thought the games would have to be made up in January or played at a neutral site, but after lengthy discussions between the Spruce Kings and the city, only had to be postponed by 1 day. Congratulations go out to a pair of BCHLers who committed to NCAA universities this week. Coquitlam Express forward Corey Mackin has accepted a scholarship offer to attend Ferris State University in Big Rapids, Michigan, while Vernon Vipers defenseman and team captain Ryan Renz has committed to Lake Superior State University. We'll be right back after this.
Like our champions, we know what it takes to win. Every day we put on our uniforms and we strive to be the best. Ring after ring, we keep practicing until it becomes second nature. Our craftsmen have put in thousands of hours to master their trade. And when things get tough, we make the adjustments needed to stay on top. Barron Championship rings. This is who we are.
The Penticton V's are enjoying another successful season both on and off the ice. At or near the top of the interior division for most of the season, the V's also lead the BCHL in attendance with crowds averaging over 2,000. I recently talked to the voice of the V's, Fraser Rogers, on the decision the team made during the last off-season that led to the V's nearly tripling their season ticket totals. Rogers also discusses the path he took to his current position with the V's. I'm joined now by the voice and more of the Penticton V's. We'll get into that shortly. Fraser Rogers, tell us how you ended up from growing up in Nanaimo to your position now with the Penticton V's.
Yeah, it's always the long-winded stories when you get broadcasters talking about themselves, I'm sure. But JB, it started in Nanaimo, as you mentioned. That's where I'm from. I did most of my schooling there. Got out of school, got into the radio gig, as a lot of us guys do, to get into the broadcasting field, and started doing some junior B hockey with the Victoria Cougars of the Vancouver Island Junior Hockey League. A great organization. They gave me 2 years there. And then from there, I went east to the heartland of Canada, some say, Saskatchewan.
Melfort, Saskatchewan.
Yeah, Melfort, so northeast Saskatchewan. Based out there and at a radio station that's still going, CJVR, CK750. There's 3 local areas we covered when it came to the Junior A loop in Saskatchewan, the SJHL, Melfort Mustangs, Nipawin Hawks, and the Humboldt Broncos. A lot of people know Humboldt from their RBC Cup prowess and their championships, kind of the Vernon Vipers of Saskatchewan is what they are under Dean Brockman. So that was great. I spent a year there. Wasn't long, but you do a lot there. You do major midget hockey. You do senior hockey, so you do the Fishing Lake Hockey League, it's called. You do all sorts of men's league. It's AAA hockey, which is big out there for Allen Cup runs. You do major midget with Tisdale Trojans. They're a factory in Major Midget as well, pumping up a lot of players to the Western Hockey League, and you do everything under the sun that's hockey in Saskatchewan. So you
Stop you right there. How important is it for the broadcasters maybe watching this, trying to work their way up in the industry, to take on those jobs in maybe towns that don't seem appealing? Just you have to go and you have to do it, don't you?
It's a must. I know a lot of young people go to the BCIT out here in the Lower Mainland, and they don't want to leave the Valley or the Lower Mainland.
Right.
They try to find a job where, hey, I'm just going to be the next voice of the Canucks. Well, that's just not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
So it's huge. I took the jump as a young 20-year-old, first time moving away from home, and it was 2 provinces over. Big culture shock for not only me, but your family, having that distance and not seeing a lot of your family and friends a lot of the time. But it was huge because you get to cut your teeth, make a lot of mistakes, find yourself as a broadcaster. And from there, I landed a gig with the Powell River Kings, a great organization in this league under Kent Lewis. I spent a year there. They went to a league final the year I was there against the Vernon Vipers. And then from there, it was with the Penticton Vs, and here now talking to you.
So I'm doing some quick math there. In your time in the BCHL, have you ever not gone to the league finals?
This is a long-running joke.
Yeah.
No, I've been a league final every year since I've been in the BCHLs. With the Powell River Kings, my 2 years with Penticton now, so it's 3 straight Fred Page Cup finals, and that's not lost on me. A lot of people make some comments on Twitter. They give me a good time. There's some good jokes, some good photoshops that are done as well, but it is a blessing to have to be in league finals to begin with, because when I was in Saskatchewan, it was a struggle, the teams I was with.
Yeah, it's not something you can take for granted.
Exactly, and so I realized coming here, it's a different stage. There's a lot of attention, a lot of people listening to you, and the pressure, I think, helped me become a better broadcaster, knowing that you got to be on your A game.
Now you've taken on more of a role in Penticton. Tell us what else you're doing for them.
Yeah, it's a nice expanded role the last 2 years. I took on a corporate sales and ticket sales and marketing side last 2 years. This summer, I took on more responsibility on the business side under Fred Harbinson, who became the president and really took over the business operations in-house with the Penticton V. So this summer, spent a lot of time at the corporate level, ticket sales, your corporate sales you do here that you see in the ice logos, rink boards, in-game sponsorships. And that was really, I think, a really key for me when you move forward, not just for broadcasters, but you can't just be a broadcaster. Right. You got to be a well-rounded package, just like a hockey player. You can't just play in the offensive zone. You got to learn how to play the neutral zone and defense. So it's good to get that experience. It's trial and error. Obviously, just like as a broadcaster, you make your mistakes, you learn from it. But so far, it's been an experience. When there's long days, you've been involved with those long days, stressful weeks. It's all worth it in the end because become a better worker and a better person in the hockey field because of it.
Now the Vs this year lead the league in attendance, just over 2,000 per game. That's up about 400 round numbers from last year. And the big reason behind that, we can talk about the on-ice success. That's obviously a big part of it. But talk about the season ticket push you guys did in the dead heat of summer, the toughest time to sell hockey tickets. Tell us what happened last July or August, I think.
Yeah, it was a month-long window. It was a 30-day blitz from July 15th to August 15th. And the motto this year, on ice and off ice, was whatever it takes. What does it take was a playoff slogan. That was really popular. We had a lot of reaction to that from our fan base, and in the media blitz we did with that. So we decided whatever it takes, become successful. And I think we're one of the only junior hockey teams, not just the junior A level, but at the major junior level as well, that has increased attendance actually from the year prior.
Yeah, I believe that was.
So it's a feather in the cap for a lot of hard work, but we decided, hey, it's a 30-day window. Less is more is the attitude. Our ownership group, I just talked to you about it off air, was they had their ear to the ground. Our governor, Fred Harbinson, as a president now, was asking a lot of people. We did a lot of kind of studies. And the dollar, as in an economy like this, doesn't go as far, especially a lot of younger families. Your fan base is aging in Penticton in a lot of areas around the BCHL. And we thought we need to get younger. We need to make it more affordable as affordable as possible for young families and young kids to still stay engaged in hockey, because you read about it all the time. Nationally in papers or on TV, how the decline in hockey and the interest in hockey in our country. So we want to get it engaged in the public that this is your team. Whatever it takes to get you in the building, we'll do that. So they slashed ticket prices basically by 50% across the board. So there's a 3-tiered structure. Your smallest pricing point was about a $4.50 per game cost. Your most expensive ticket was about a $7 per game cost, and it was huge. We went from about 300 and change and tripled it to almost 1,000 season ticket holders on the V side. Then you factor in suites and the club seats as well. You're looking at just over 1,000 season ticket holders now. And it was a huge success. Obviously, it's weird, pumping your own tires, but you get you get a warm feeling, I guess. It sounds corny, but it's nice to see the fans and public react in such a positive way when you kind of put yourself out there. And you got to give a lot of credit to Neil Jamieson, our governor, and Fred Harbinson, head coach and president. They've stuck their neck out on the line with this, with ownership groups, convincing the ownership group that this was the right thing to do. And Fred Harbinson, as a lot of people know, he's rarely wrong, and he was right on that occasion too.
Well, let's go to the on-ice product. Again, for the umpteenth year in a row, this team is again a serious contender for a league championship. Fred Harbinson in his 7th year, he's a key, isn't he?
Yeah, he's the face of the franchise. In junior hockey, it's tough to market one player to year basis. So with us, we're lucky we have a recognizable figure, not just name-wise in Fred Harbinson, but a guy that really puts himself out there in the community as well. He takes a lot of public appearances. He'll do a lot of community engagement as well in the summertime. If you need him at an event like our big season ticket blitz, he was there. We were at mall visits. We're at the Saturday markets downtown. He came. He was there engaging with the public, taking some criticism when you get those complaints, from fans, what they want to improve on, talking to fans, and he is the face now. He took on a president role with the V's, so he really took over the business operations under partnership with our Governor Neil Jamieson. He's a guy who can't get lost in all this. But Fred on the on-ice product, what can you say? With his assistants Steve Cawley and Mike Hengan, they've built a great program here in the last 7 years, you would say. But the last 4 years has been really good, and it's just a lot of hard work. These guys in the summertime are there Monday to Friday, 8 to 5:30, sometimes longer. Long road trips, recruiting lines, what a lot of coaches do. Fred is the face of the franchise, you would say, and it's deserving with the RBC Cup recognition. Obviously, last year going back after only having 4 returnees last year, going back to a league final against a loaded Surrey team. Let's not discredit them. A great program under Matt Earhart there. So he's a guy that always finds a way to build a good team. A team that is well balanced, and this year's no different, I guess.
Got about a minute to go here. I want to talk about one player, defenseman Brett Beauvais, who was brought in this year for his final year of junior hockey, who's now crept into the top 5 in league scoring. How important has he been this year?
Well, I just want to back that up. It's kind of funny. You have a Troy Stetcher, great defenseman, before, and then Mike Riley.
Oh, he was one of the best.
Joey LaLeggia. And now you got a guy like Brett Beauvais as a 19-year-old, came from the Kalamazoo Junior K-Wings, a team in the North American Hockey League that was defunct now. It folded. He's looking for a place to play. He came in on a recruit visit in the summer, liked what he saw, obviously, in Penticton, and even his offensive output has surprised the coaches. We knew he's a talented, well-rounded, well-skating defenseman, but to have 35 assists and almost be up the 45-point total already as a defenseman, I did some numbers earlier this year. He's actually on pace to break point total that Mike Riley established, 83 points a couple years ago, and his point per game was right on pace with him as well. So he's a special defenseman. You'll see him here, obviously, at our game, and he reminds me, it sounds crazy to say this, but he reminds me of Duncan Keith. He's the same build, 5'11", 6 feet, slender guy, but just does not get hit because he skates so well. It's hard to get him on the forecheck against the wall.
Before we let you go, tell everyone how they can follow you in the social media world.
Yeah, well, you can follow me at V's Voice, all one word on Twitter. Our V's Twitter account as well, at Penticton V's. And on Twitter, I'm there sharing my humble opinion at times and giving the insight on the Penticton V's.
Thanks again for joining me.
Thanks, JB.
That's it for the show this week. To keep up to date on the BCHL, visit BCHL.ca. Please join us next week when I'll talk to Ron Gallo of the Prince George Spruce Kings. Thanks for watching. I've been your host, Jacob Esterbroer. We'll see you next week.